Hey, what is going on, everyone? This is Mohammed, your personal PMP coach from Certified with Ease, coming back to you guys with another brand new video. In this video, we are going to solve the 20 difficult PMP questions that I sent out to all of you guys if you received it last week. Okay, so if you're in our school community or if you follow us on YouTube, you'll see a post and I uploaded the questions. Now, I said, guys, reach out to me, email me the answers so I can correct your mistakes or text me. A lot of you emailed and texted us. So I didn't get the time to check over everything. And that's why I'm making this video to address everyone's answers. Okay. We are going to do something a little bit differently in this video. I've noticed that the number one problem that people have when it comes to this exam is that they're not able to read and frame the problem. They're reading, but they're not reading with the intent of what is the actual problem. They're not putting their lawyer hat on or their investigator hat on, looking at the situation and eliminating the things that are not important and only choosing the things that are important. Okay, so this is essential for the exam because you don't want to reread the questions. It's going to take a lot of time, and that's exactly what we're going to practice on. The answers, pretty simple for the most part. A lot of them are A because I forgot to shuffle the questions. But again, we're going to focus on the process of getting to the answer. And like always, guys, if you're interested in our course, it's on the left-hand side. Book that appointment. It's something that can help you get certified the fastest way possible without going through the textbook and Udemy courses and everything like that. We focus on a more practical approach. We are rolling out more questions based on the changes. And the exam has started to change a little bit in terms of its questions, not the content. That's for the PMBOK 8. But the questions have started to change a little bit. You'll notice that there are different variations of the exam if you've taken the exam multiple times, right? So we're going to roll that out soon. So get your hands on our course, book that appointment so we can show you the course. If it's for you, you can sign up. All right. So number one, let's start right away. A project manager is leading a hybrid product development project with distributed stakeholders. Midway through the development, several influential stakeholders demand additional features that significantly impact the product scope. Recall, we're not saying that it benefits the product scope or the product. We're saying it expands the product scope. Really important. The sponsor privately tells the project manager to accommodate the request quietly to avoid conflict. The team warns that integrating these features will jeopardize deadlines and introduce architectural instability. Okay, so we got a whole bunch of problems over here. Now your brain is probably racing, like, what is the problem? What is the problem? Think about it. If I were to say, hey, give me a summary, what is this actually talking about? It's talking about these change requests and how some people want to quietly implement them. The whole situation revolves around that. You got one party that says, we want these changes. You got another party that says, you know what? Let's implement them quietly. And you got the third party that's saying, no, that's not a good idea. That is the situation, guys. The situation simply is we have changes that we want to integrate quietly. What do we do? Quietly meaning that you're not informing or you're not looking at it, you're not investigating, right? What do we do? Okay. We understood the problem statement. Let's look at the answers now. We're going to eliminate using our principles. Add the new features into upcoming iterations to preserve stakeholder relationships. Okay. We don't care about stakeholder relationships. We care about the benefit of the product. We care about our client. We care about, reaching that goal. Preserving stakeholder relationships. If you are mad or if you are upset with me that I am doing what is beneficial for the product or the project, that's on you. Okay? So that's not a good answer or a good reason. Escalate to the steering committee and request formal approval for a scope change. So we have the word with the E word here. I wouldn't escalate to the steering committee. I would involve the product owner if that was an option. Direct the team to explore creative ways to deliver the new features without altering the baseline. Okay, I like that because it involves the team who's actually building the project and it takes a step back. Principle number one, right over here. Ask the product owner to deprioritize lower value work so the team can absorb the changes. Interesting. Interesting. So I'm going to go with C and I'm going to go with D. Which one out of these two would we pick? Which one logically solves the problem? Well, here's the thing. When you're left with two answers at the end, and I always tell my students this question, when you're left with two answers at the end, ask yourself this question: which one of these two am I going to do first? Direct the team to explore creative ways to deliver the new features without altering the baseline. Ask the PO to deprioritize lower value work so the team can absorb the changes. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm going to go with D first. Now, the question says several influential stakeholders demand additional features. They want these features. So we can assume that maybe they're the clients. They want these features. We're going to go to the product owner. The product owner is responsible for the backlog. Number one, very important. We're going to see what we can prioritize and deprioritize. We're going to see if that's even a possibility, because if it's not, then we can go to C and we can be like, hey, look, team, this is not possible. We got different priorities, but explore different ways to deliver the new features. Let's see your creativity. Let's see what you can come up with, right? So D for me is going to be the answer. By the way, guys, if you don't disagree with my answers, no problem. Justify in the comments. I want to read them. I want to actually debate with you a little bit. That's the best way to learn. Okay? All right, number two. During the execution of a major enterprise upgrade, multiple team members report escalating stress, confusion about acceptance criteria, and frequent rework. The sponsor insists the team is overreacting and urges them to accelerate delivery. Meanwhile, defect rates have increased sharply, velocity is declining. What should the project manager do? Okay. Again, a mouthful of a question. We have a lot of problems here. The team is stressed. They don't know what the acceptance criteria is. We got frequent rework. Sponsor is saying people are overreacting. And meanwhile, we're getting defect rates. Velocity is declining. Okay. What is the actual problem statement here? Now, if you really think about it, ask yourself this question. Now, listen, guys, I don't want to freak you out. The exam's not this wordy, right? So don't worry about that. We're just practicing. Ask yourself, hey, why is the sponsor overreact? Or why is the sponsor saying the team is overreacting? Why? Because of this. For here. Why are there defect rates? Why is velocity declining? Because of this. That is the root cause. We got to solve that. The team members are stressed, confused about acceptance criteria, and frequent rework. Okay, so that comes down to acceptance criteria. They don't know what they're doing. That's basically what is happening. They don't know what the end goal is. A, facilitate a session to review definition of done and clarify acceptance criteria. Beautiful answer. Anytime there's a misunderstanding when it comes to what needs to be done, the end product, you want to clarify that acceptance criteria, definition of done. Assign additional overtime. So we don't do that. Why? Because it costs more money. We don't want to do that right away. Eliminate. Replace team members. We don't replace team members. We're a servant leader. Ask the sponsor to redefine the timeline so the team can stabilize their workflow. Okay, that could work. But I would rather go with A first. And when we redefine the timeline, that usually implies a delay, which we never settle for. So I'm going to go with A when it comes to number two. Awesome. Number three, a project integrating a third-party vendor solution is behind schedule because the vendor repeatedly submits deliverables with inconsistent quality. Guys, I don't know about you, but we got a promise statement here. Vendor repeatedly submits deliverables with inconsistent quality. That sounds like the problem statement. Vendor claims deficiencies are minor and refuses to adjust their approach. Internal leadership is pressuring the project to keep the vendor relationship intact to avoid contractual conflict. Guys, the first part. This is the problem statement. If you think about it, ask yourself logically. Everything else that has been mentioned as a problem is because of this, is because of the submission of deliverables with inconsistent quality. That is our problem statement. So what should we do? Enforce quality inspection using the contract's performance clause. Escalate to the procurement office, okay, and request immediate vendor replacement. So again, we don't escalate, we don't replace our vendors, right? Logically think about it. When we replace our vendors, it takes time to get a new one. It's going to delay everything. Direct the team to patch vendor defects internally to maintain schedule. Okay, but how is that going to help in the long run? These inconsistencies are going to keep coming up. Document all issues and negotiate additional funding to address the defects. So again, no, we shouldn't spend more money on this. We should enforce quality inspections or expectations. If I'm purchasing something from you and you're giving me a defective product, of course I'm going to bring up the contract and say, hey, listen, what are you doing, man? Give me my product without defects. A is going to be the answer, okay? So we eliminated B, C, and D with our principles. A newly formed Agile team routinely overcommits during sprint planning, leading to unfinished work and stakeholder frustration. Leadership is questioning the team's capability and suggesting imposing delivery quotas. The PO is inexperienced and often pushes the team beyond their stated capacity. Oh, this is interesting, guys. When we're reading this question, we look at the first sentence. We're like, okay, that's a problem statement. They're overcommitting, leading to unfinished work and stakeholder frustration. When we read the last sentence, we find out the cause of that. The PO is inexperienced and often pushes the team beyond their stated capacity. So when you're reading these questions, you want to ask yourself, what is the actual root cause? That should be in your mind. What is the root cause? What is the root cause? What is the root cause? So that is a root cause. The product owner's experience. Okay, so we got to solve that problem. A, coach the product owner to respect team velocity and sustainable pacing. Beautiful. I think that's the answer, because most of these answers are A, because I forgot to shuffle the the solutions. Allow leadership to set delivery quotas until predictability improves. Increase team size to ensure commitments are met. Ask the team to work overtime for several sprints to rebuild stakeholder confidence. So I think we can all agree that A is going to be the answer here. Okay. Um, B doesn't solve the core problem. We still have a inexperienced product owner. C, increasing team size means more costs, and asking people to work overtime also means more costs. Excellent. Question number 5. A PM working on a compliance-driven platform upgrade faces pressure from senior leadership to shorten the schedule by several months. But engineering leads warn that the compression will increase technical debt and could jeopardize regulatory readiness. Leadership insists that the deadline is not negotiable. What should the project manager do? Okay, this is really important, guys. We basically want to finish earlier. Here's the thing, we have no choice. We need to finish earlier. It's not negotiable. And that happens. That happens. Even if the engineering team is coming along and saying, hey, technical debt, a lot of rework, blah, 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 it's not negotiable. We got to figure it out now. I think I had a principle for this one. Let me search it up. Scheduling. Not that. Scheduling. Okay, I don't. All right, but we'll explain it here. Anytime you need to compress a schedule and there's no choice, there's no option, you need to do it. You need to finish earlier, basically. You want to use scheduling compression techniques. A, apply scheduling compression techniques. B, present a detailed impact analysis highlighting technical and compliance risks. Again, it doesn't matter what you mention. It's non-negotiable. We have to do it. Something is happening. We have to release it earlier. Reassign complex tasks to junior staff to reduce cost and accelerate delivery. Reduce documentation requirements to increase development throughput. Okay, A is going to be the best answer. And depending on the situation, we're going to use either, mention in the comments. What are the two scheduling compression techniques that the PMP exam focuses on? Mention that. Okay, number 6. An agile team is coping with a customer who frequently demands changes without refining their backlog. Requirements are ambiguous, and customer rotates representatives frequently. As a result, the team experiences churn, high defect rates, and schedule unpredictability. Okay, so the ending mentions the consequences of the actual problem statement. So that means the problem statement should be somewhere in the beginning, right? And the problem statement is this: the customer frequently demands changes without refining their backlog. Okay, so customers always saying, hey, we should change this without looking at the priorities, without looking at the actual backlog, without looking at the sprint plan, whatever it may be. Require the customer to stabilize representation and improve backlog readiness. Assign additional team members to absorb churn. Insist the team proceed with incomplete backlog items to preserve velocity. Escalate, we don't do that. Okay. A, require the customer to stabilize representation. So actually, that's one of our promise statements as well. We need someone who, um, one second over here, someone who represents the customer. Okay. And improve backlog readiness. Pretty simple, but it solves the core problem. And that's exactly what we're looking for. If we assign additional team members to absorb churn, we're paying people more when we shouldn't. We should have an actual process in place. A fixes that problem. All right, number 7. A global project involves coordination across several remote teams using different tool chains and workflows. Okay. The most important part of this is probably going to be remote teams. I don't care about tool chains. I don't know what that is. And then you got workflows. Delays are increasing because the teams are misaligned on integration points and delivery expectations. Leadership insists that coordination issues are normal and recommends keeping the plan unchanged. What should the project manager do? Everyone's global. Everyone's remote. And we got delays because people are misaligned when it comes to the integration points and delivery expectations. Okay, so forget about those points. Just understand that the teams are misaligned and they're global. No one knows what's going on, basically. Simple terms. Develop a unified integration plan with synchronized milestones. Okay, beautiful, right? You got your milestones as well, so everyone knows what's going on. Allow each team to continue using their current processes. Flexibility. Again, this doesn't solve anything. Create a separate oversight team to manage inter-team conflicts. Why have another team? Why pay people more? Implement rigid reporting checkpoints to enforce accountability. That takes away the flexibility aspect of having your teams in your teams, giving them autonomy, right? A is going to be the best answer. Okay, so hopefully, guys, you guys are getting used to the the mindset here, but more importantly, you're getting used to framing the problem. You're getting used to framing the problem. So, project manager overseeing a series of interdependent software modules receives conflicting risk assessments from multiple technical leads. Oof, mouthful. One insists that architecture is stable, another warns of severe scalability limitations. The sponsor is worried about cost overruns and wants reassurance that risks are under control. Okay, this is a mouthful of a question, guys. I was reading it and I wasn't even processing what was going on. So I got to read it again, unfortunately. So PM is overseeing a series of interdependent software modules, receives conflicting risk assessment from multiple technical leads. Okay. One insists the architecture is stable, and another warns of several scalability limitations. So what I'm going to say is this. You got problems. You got you got problems. Number 8 has a lot of problems. One party, the one party is saying that it's something, and the other party is saying it's something else. Okay, guys, I didn't understand that much of this question. And we try to make it so wordy that you have to focus. But let's see what the answers say. Facilitate a cross-functional risk workshop to develop a shared risk picture. I like that because you got two people having conflicting views. We're involving everyone, cross-functional risk workshop, And we are developing a shared risk picture. We're involving everyone, right? That's probably going to be the solution. Adopt the most optimistic assessment to avoid alarming leadership. Assign separate mitigation actions to each technical lead based on their viewpoint. And that's a problem because they're interdependent. Delay development until a new feasibility study is complete. And we don't delay things. So A is going to be the best answer. Okay. So these are excellent, guys. You practice, you read, you're fishing for the problem statement. Excellent, guys. Okay. So project manager overseeing a distributed agile program notices huge differences in performance among teams. Some teams meet sprint goals consistently, while others repeatedly fail due to unclear requirements and unstable backlog items. Leadership wants delivery to be standardized across all teams. Okay. So the problem statement is this: you got huge differences in performance amongst the teams. So in other words, you have some team members performing well, some people are not. What should we do? Okay. What should we do? And sorry, I forgot to mention this important as well. Some teams they meet their goals, sprint goals, and others they fail because of unclear requirements. So A, standardized backlog refined practice across all teams. Yes, reassign high performers to weaker teams to balance capability. We don't do that, right? If a high performer is performing well, they're performing well in their role for a reason. Why remove them from that role? Why switch teams? Enforce identical sprint commitments for all teams. Ask the product owner to prioritize simpler items for weaker items. Okay, so this problem has to do with backlog refinement practices. The fact that you have unclear requirements and unstable backlog items means that you don't have a good backlog refinement process. We want to work on that. Okay. And let us do one more question. What I'm going to do for the rest of the questions is I want you guys to comment from 11 to 20. What are your answers? And let's start a discussion in the comment section. What are your answers? What are you unsure about? What are you having difficulty with? Okay. I want you guys to practice this. I know it's a YouTube video. I know that, I'm supposed to solve the questions, but I don't want to spoon feed you guys the answers. You guys are preparing for the exam. Make sure you prepare well. Okay. And let's do one more question. So a team working on a data-intensive analytics product identifies recurring integration defects during system testing. The team believes the root cause, okay, there we go, is outdated API documentation from an external partner. But the partner denies responsibility. So this is a people domain question. There's a problem. One of your team members, in this case the partner, is saying, no, it's not me, when you know the problem is this person. The sponsor asks the project manager to resolve it quietly to avoid damaging the partnership. What should we do? Escalate documentation issue formally through the contract. Okay. Now, this escalate here is not actually escalating to someone. It's basically saying document the issue formally through the contract. Accept the partner's explanation and continue testing. Assign analysts to reverse engineer the integration and bypass documentation gaps. Pause testing. We don't pause things, right? That's the delay. I'm gonna go with A. Not because of escalate. Now, escalate shouldn't be used in this answer. We're not escalating it to anyone. But we want to always do things formally. Guys, when it comes to business, when it comes to your companies, if you do things under, the background, going around the system, it can create so many problems at the end. People do it all the time, but it can backfire immensely. Okay? So A is going to be the answer, not because of escalate, remember guys, but because of doing things formally. Okay? So that is it for today's video. Guys, let me know what you guys think. The document is going to be linked. If you didn't receive it, work on it. Please practice that problem statement, framing it and understanding what it is. Take your time with it. It's going to take time for you to master, but once you master it, you're never going to regret it. Take care for now. And remember, guys, we have an amazing course that's also going to be linked. If you're interested, make sure you book an appointment.